Did they go on their honeymoon, or was that their honeymoon?
I'm not sure. I'm on low. Good afternoon, guys. This is Paul Smith with 12 Rivers Realty. You're tuning in to the 12 at 12. As you guys know, I got to do my thumbnail photos first. So here we go. They want more serious. They don't want me to actually show my personality on here. It's crazy. My producers are keeping me down. Guys, we got a lot to talk about today. You know, it's February 4th. I think this is our 14th or 15th, 12 at 12. You guys, those that don't know, there's a link in my bio. I also send out a weekly newsletter. If you guys want to tune into that, go ahead and follow in my private channel as well. I'm putting deals out there. You get to see kind of the different things that I'm doing. Those tuning in on YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram, it's a drastically different vibe on each one, depending on what you're looking for. Of course, for us, we need to respect the algorithm. And so a lot of things that we're doing are really kind of based on the platform that you're watching it on. So at the end of the day, thank y'all for tuning in. Again, this is Paul Smith with the 12 at 12. We're going to shout out to Clarissa. Thanks for jumping in here. Carlos, thanks, man. Hope all is well. Hey, there's some things to talk about today, dude. There's some things that kind of just grind my gears a little bit, right? I got Edward Sells ATX. Edward, thanks for jumping in. Where do I want to start today? Man, sounds like I haven't heard the government shut down this many times ever. At the end of the day, what I do want to say is that those people, those agents, or if you're a VA buyer right now or an FHA buyer and you're hearing about government shutdown, stuff like that, be careful with your contract. And you may want to write something in there in special provisions that just says that, in the event that this happens, the closing will be pushed X amount of days. Because at the end of the day, you're not going to be able to fund if it's a VA loan and the government shut down, because VA again is a veteran loan that is controlled by the government. So just a little bit of food for thought there, a little bit of tidbit. I would strongly recommend that you look into those things for sure. Definitely with the government shutdown, please write into your contract. And actually, Edward, this is for you. Shout out, because you're the one that we're talking about. Edward's got a client that's looking to buy a home VA. And so if we go there's a situation where it ends up being a 20+ day shutdown on a 30-day close, that's going to be a problem. So definitely look into that. And also make sure that you talk to your mortgage broker about that. So that way you're set up in a good situation. Man, there's a lot of cool things happening in Austin right now. One of those things is a development that's happening up in the Domain area. For those that don't know about the Domain started in about 2007. A company by the name of Endeavor is the one that developed the Domain. So that's where just about all of Austin's high-end shopping is. Now you're starting to see some stuff around South Congress for sure. But prior to that, the majority of the high-end shopping was in the Domain area. And the Domain is just 1/8 of a larger overlay called the North Burnet Gateway. So guys, go ahead and Google that, look into it. But the North Burnet Gateway is a larger overlay that enables buildings to go up to right around 30 stories, right? So think about this, right? If you've got the Frost Bank Tower right next to Q2, right? That's what's going to be there long term. And so again, this is something that's been in the works for a long time. And these things, they don't just happen overnight. Shout out, we got Kelly in the house. Kelly, thanks for jumping in here. Kelly is a agent at 12 Rivers Realty and one of the most passionate and philanthropic people that we have here. Same thing with Edward, by the way. So Kelly, thanks for tuning in. But this property that we're talking about right now is right next to Q2. And so they're going to be doing rezoning in that area. Guys, this is going to be something that you're going to want to do investment-wise, and heed what I say on this. The first project that you see that's going to go up, that's a condo community, like a mid-rise or high-rise. Get that bad boy under contract for a couple of reasons. One, you'll be able to put it under contract hypothetically today, and it won't close for another 3 years. They still have to build it. So during that time frame, assuming that the Austin market is going to be appreciating somewhere between, let's call it 1% to 5% historically over time, we're at 5.7%. Not only that, but if you remove what I call the blip, kind of go with my super nerdy, like Marvel universe kind of end game vibes. If you were to take out the blip from 2020 to 2022 and create a trend line going up, we're actually at about 3% less than if we were having our normal 5.7% appreciation since the 70s. So I say all that to say, I suspect that the Austin market will appreciate from here. And you can put a timestamp on that. It's February 4th. I'm saying that right now. Having said that, what's great about buying a property this is hypothetical, by the way, this isn't out yet, but whenever this happens, you can come in and you can put down a reservation. Let's say it's for $500, right? So that reservation enables you to then put one under contract. Well, the dope thing is if you're buying it and you're putting something under contract, and let's use some crazy easy math in this case. Let's say it's a $300,000 condo and you need to put 5% down, which means that you put $15,000 down on that $300,000 condo, and it's going to take 3 years for it to be built. So that $300,000 asset is appreciating at 5% annually, right? So your 15K when you close turns into 45,000 in equity at that point. And again, guys, like I told Max this weekend, we're driving in the car. I said, rule number one of real estate, you always make your money when you buy. Remember that. This is an opportunity for you to get what's called equitable title, right? You put something under contract for less than it's worth. There's value there. There's a delta there, right? That's called equitable title. You can, one, close on it and then sell it and make that money. Depending on how you bought it, a lot of times, depending on what's in the contract, you could potentially assign it. Right? Let's say you find property that is worth $500,000 and somebody's like, look, I got to get out tomorrow. I'll sell it to you for $350,000. And you got somebody with cash that says, I can close it tomorrow and I'll take it for $400,000. You just made $50,000 by assigning the contract in that case. That is also something you can do, but that's the importance of equitable title. Now, remember that. That's an important word when it comes to real estate. It essentially just says that you have the ability to cash that equitable title check when you buy it, and then you actually cash the big check when you sell it, right? That's when you actually get the money. Otherwise, it's paper money at that point, as far as it's money on paper. So to me, it looks like they're starting to kind of the rumblings of going to go vertical and start to announce some level of a high-rise or mid-rise condos in this area. Because up until this point, it's only been office and it's been rental. There's no condos in the area. So I think that's going to be happening. So again, look for that. This is in the domain. This is real close to Q2. And based on our conversations from last week, what you'd be able to do is actually take a light rail stop from Q2 all the way out to the airport whenever they bring in the new line. So that's great. It'll be at some point probably in, let's call it 2033, whenever the light rail is actually done. In Austin, I might not have to own a car. It's kind of getting that way anyways with Uber and Lyft, and certainly Tesla would prefer that you don't get a car, right? They've got their own self-driving cars at this point. So that's something that has been good. The city council has approved it, which is great. So that means that this development is coming, but they don't have a whole lot more about it yet. But at the end of the day, the reason why it's important is right now, if you were to drive up in the domain area, let's say you're over off of Breaker and Burnet, which is the equivalent of downtown, or what's going to be Austin's new uptown. That's where you'll have the most density at that corner right there of Breaker and Burnet. And then it kind of stair steps out from there towards Metric, all the way up to 183 and in the domain itself. So you're going to start to see a lot more development there. If you drive there now, it's just a bunch of warehouses. It's a bunch of land. You can actually see there's some retail that used to be not so great. That's now street level retail. That's great. You got some cool restaurants, coffee shops, stuff like that. So definitely going to be Austin's new uptown at that point. I wonder what will they call the Dog's Head? You think the Arts District? What if we called it that? The Hope Gallery's out there. I think we call the Dog's Head the Arts District. I hope that tracks. I'm super early on that one, but Arts District feels good. Hope's out there, right? Well, fuck it, why not? It's the Arts District. That's what I'm calling it. I hope it works. Another interesting thing, by the way, South Congress just reached a tipping point where there's more between local and non-local businesses. And for those that haven't been in Austin more than, I don't know, let's call it 5 years, South Congress 10 years ago, 20 years ago, it was Lucy's in disguise. It was all kind of funky, Austin-y, like keep Austin weird, started in South Congress. And I hope that this isn't the start of Austin jumping the shark. It's been jumping, honestly. But Just Dizzle, what's up, man? Hope you're well. Thanks for jumping in here. But this is the start. This is what happens, right? As growth happens, it becomes more and more generic. As growth happens, it's hard to maintain the heart and the soul of a city, of an event. I know we all know when ACL and C3 sold to Live Nation, just felt a little bit different, right? Kind of lost that vibe, right? They're bringing in people at a national level, so then you lose that kind of connection in some ways. And a lot of times, that's the connection that made it dope. Obviously, Austin, there's a lot of other great things, pro business, everything else like that. But it's crazy that the rental rates on the street are up to $200 a foot. I don't necessarily know how anything can work at that level, but again, I think for them, it's just more of it's just more of a staple, right? It's like having something on Madison Ave or something like that. Again, guys, this is Paul Smith. You're tuning into the 12 at 12, and we're just kind of going down the list and talking about stuff happening in the real estate world. Man, I don't know if you guys have noticed, those that do know or don't know, Congress going from South Congress, but going north of the river all the way to the Capitol. There's going to be a huge redevelopment happening in that area, and really from Congress all the way to 35 and 6th Street in particular. But that whole area is going to be drastically different 10 years from now. About 5 years ago, a little bit more, there's a company by the name of Stream Realty. It's a commercial real estate company here, started buying up 36, historic 6, if you will, on the low, and pieced together about 70% of historical 6th Street. And so by doing so, what they did is their whole goal was to own it all, and then through lobbying and everything else, move the homeless shelter, which they did. And also now they're going to go ahead and rezone 6th Street. And my prediction is that what they'll do is they'll have the front facades of 6th Street, which is it's historical, right? So that's probably not going to go away. But then let's go, you say 10 to 20 feet off of that facade, then you can go vertical, right? So you'll start to have more development. And their goal is to have 6th Street be more of coffee shops, daytime vibes, less of your drinking kind of, definitely less flaming Dr. Peppers, although I would be a huge fan if a bar did keep those, because I'm a huge fan of pouring those back in the day. My bartending days on 6th Street. Those that don't know, flaming Dr. Pepper is basically where you take a beer with a shot of amaretto, you put 151, and then you take 151, put it in your mouth and blow it. Huge flame. Multiple times caught people on fire. Probably not safe, but it was the early 2000s. So yeah, people were doing a little bit differently there for sure. Hey, we got Joanne in the house. Thanks for jumping in, Joe. Guys, again, this is Paul Smith. You're tuning into the 12 at 12. This next thing that I want to talk about, guys, this is something that, it's almost like, it's one of those things where it's like, I understand what this Instagram account is doing. And it's really, I think it's just at RealEstate. Is that right? The at RealEstate account posted something earlier that says the top US buyers markets, right? And so it has Miami #1 at 9.8 months supply, Austin, Texas at 9.5 months supply. So, oh dear, Denise is in the house. Here we go. Hey, babe, you're just in time. We're talking about month supply, and actually, I was hoping that you could go ahead and describe that to people. We'll wait. Just kidding, guys. Month supply is done by this, right? You have active listings, and then you have pending listings, right? And so the thought is, if you have 10,000 active listings and you have 5,000 pendings, basically that means that you have 2 months supply, right? You take the active divided by the pending. If there was no more inventory that came on the market, you end up with, in that case, 2 months supply, right? And so then there's some other things that you deal with this as well, right? There is the difference between a buyer's market and a seller's market. And let's talk about how that is classified, right? So typically at 6 months supply, that's considered a equilibrium market. So in the event, let's say that there was 6 months supply. In this case, let's say there's 12,000 active and 2,000 pending. That is 6 months supply. 12 divided by 6, or 12 divided by 2 is 6. Does that track? Right. So at RealEstate, posts that Austin has 9.5 months supply. However, they don't post a source. By the way, I said source, right? What the hell? Where did you get this from? And on top of that, I look at market stats every day. So I know it's bullshit, but they're doing it to get clicks. They're doing it because of that. The problem is that's extremely dangerous for you. If you're trying to buy right now and you're coming to be like, Paul, Austin market's at 9.5 months supply, and I'm trying to buy in that, let's say that 550 price point, where really the supply is 3.35 months at 550,000. You're thinking that you're going to come in and lowball. However, and I know this to be true because I'm receiving multiple offers on other things right now. Your perception is that you can lowball based on at RealEstate's post, which again is bullshit. If they want to jump on here and debate me, I'm happy to. But either way, that's what they're saying. Well, what that does is that irresponsibly starts to put a buyer at the thought process of, oh, this is a buyer's market. Now, having said that, does it mean that all of Austin is a buyer's or seller's market? Absolutely not. You cannot look at a market as a whole MSA without breaking down the market, right? And so let me give you some facts, stats, not shit. That's what they posted. Let me give you some stats. The current Austin market as of 20 minutes ago, that's why I was 10 minutes late, was they had active 12,785 active homes with 3,632 pendings and pending backups. That means that currently, right now, the Austin market has 3.5 months supply. Now, the thing says top US buyers market. Now, if they put in there the actual top US buyers market and the month supply is 3.5 months, everyone would say they're out of their mind because that's the truth. Now, going up a little bit more. And if you think about this, guys, at the end of the day, price is like a pyramid. And so the higher up on price that you get with expense, the less people can afford it. Typically, the more expensive it is, the more supply that's going to be because not everybody can afford a $10 million home. Man, we got Matthew Richards, by far the funniest dude, AKA Chocolate Trump. This guy is hilarious, by the way. Shout out, Matthew. Thanks for jumping in here. Now going one step further, right? So going to just Austin, okay? Because again, they're like 9.5 months. So I was like, okay, maybe they're talking about Austin. So I go into Austin. Austin has currently 3,271 active, 976 pending. So Austin proper, not the MSA, but Austin proper has 3.35 months supply. Again, at RealEstate, they're saying 9.5. This is not true. Now let's look at price point. And this is where you can start to break down in something. And homes from 0 to 500,000, right? Below 500,000, we've got 7,419 active, 2,427 pending, which is 3 months supply. That's going to be the tightest market that you're going to have. That's the first time home buyer market. If you think about it, the majority of Austinites, not the majority of them, but a fair amount of them are going to qualify at that price point. That's why you're going to see it's going to be less supply in that price point. Also, that's where you see a lot of investors, right? On the lower price point, that's where the rent to price ratio starts to get closer together. Now let's talk about 500,000 to 1 million. Right now you've got 3,685 active, 941 pending for 3.92 months supply. Again, this is going to be, by the way, if you look at the market, that's going to be 60, 70% of the market, maybe even a little bit more. And that's coming in at a blended average at 3.5 months supply. So again, at RealEstate, not good. So then going from there, we've got 1 million to 2 million. Active is 1,079 to pending 211. Now you're at 5 months supply. Again, getting closer. Like I said, price point is there. This is actually what this was talking about. And this is what's so fucked up and misleading is that this doesn't mention anything about price point, which I think is very irresponsible. Now, the Austin market, the luxury market, 2 million and up is currently at 571 active and 61 pending, which is 9.36 months supply. Now, again, if at RealEstate said Austin has 9.5 months supply above 2 million, I'd say that's absolutely correct. But that's not the case, right? As blended, Austin is at 3.5 months supply as of right now. And again, I just think it's drastically irresponsible because there's a lot of buyers that are thinking about pulling the trigger and they're going to read this and they're going to be like, oh, either one, I'm reading this and I'm not going to pull the trigger because it's still a buyer's market. And again, it might be in your price point. I'm not saying this is across the board. What I'm saying is the numbers are the numbers. And if you're buying, talk to your agent and actually find out what the stats are, because that's going to predicate how you come in, right? If you think that there's 9.5 months supply, or if I'm working with you and there's 9.5 months supply, we're going to come in low. We're going to lowball. What if you miss out on the home that you love because of bad information? right? You're not making a well-informed decision based on stats. You're basing a well-informed decision based off of somebody that's trying to grab clicks. And that's it. So at Real Estate, if you ever want to jump on and debate me next Wednesday, let's do it. I guarantee you it's probably not going to work out well for you, but let's do it. Okay. Guys, again, this is Paul Smith. You're tuning in to 12 at 12. Everybody, let's wish Toddy B a happy birthday, by the way. Happy birthday, Toddy B. It was his birthday yesterday. Hopefully he put on pants, but he probably didn't, and that's okay. So happy birthday. Shout out to Toddy B. Again, this is Paul Smith tuning into the 12 at 12. If you guys have any questions about real estate, please feel free to hit me up. If you do or do not know, I also send out a weekly newsletter. If you're tuning on into YouTube, like and subscribe. If you're on TikTok, we're not. We'll get there, but you know what I mean? We're figuring that shit out. Awesome. Facebook as well, X, all that stuff. Guys, again, thank you so much for tuning in. Shout out to Toddy B. Love you so much, bro. Be good, and looking forward to celebrating you.